What's good, everybody? It's your boy Wes back with another video today, and tonight is UFC 287. We got Israel Adesanya going against Alex Pereira for the middleweight world championship in a rematch. And for the co-main event, we got Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal. We got a lot of other solid fights on the card. You know, Kevin Holland is featured, a fan favorite. He's going against Santiago Ponzinibbio. We got some great prospects on the card. Overall, top to bottom, I think it's going to be real entertaining. But today, we're just going to mainly focus on the co-main events. Getting started with the co-main, Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal. I think this has the big tellings to be a really good fight. And as far as how it's gonna go, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not too sure exactly. I see it going like one of three ways. I either see Gilbert Burns dominating the fight, with a combination of hard, striking or grappling. Gilbert Burns, his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is some of the best in the game. His grappling is very dangerous to the point where, even in the Kamaru Usman fight, Usman didn't want to go to the ground with him. We saw him dominate Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, another striker who has, issues with heavy grappling competitors. So we know that Gilbert Burns is not, he's not one of those guys who will just abandon his grappling game in favor of a great striking match. No, Gilbert Burns is very adamant on going to the ground against his opponents, and there's no doubt in my mind that he will try to, exploit that against Jorge Masvidal, who we've seen in his past couple fights struggle with the grappling. But considering that point, to me, it just depends on which Masvidal we get. In his last fight against Kamaru Usman, even though he was knocked out, I was very impressed with his takedown defense and his ability to get back up off the ground. It seemed that, Kamaru Usman was really struggling to keep and hold him there. And he even admitted it himself that, Jorge Masvidal is a really tough guy to take down. And coming from arguably the best wrestler in the division, arguably the best wrestler in the UFC, that's very big praise on Jorge Masvidal's part. As far as the Colby fight, though, I felt like we saw a completely different Jorge Masvidal. I mean, the wrestling was obvious, apparent that Colby would be going there. With the Usman fight, Usman mixed it up on him. That's how he was able to get the knockout. But against Colby Covington, Jorge seemed really sluggish. He seemed like he wasn't really in the fight all the way there. And it could have been, the fact that he's getting up there in age. He suffered that knockout, was coming back after the fight. Confidence wasn't there. It could have been a lot of factors. Jorge, even in this fight, is coming off 3 losses. The only path to victory I really see for Jorge is if we see the Jorge Masvidal from, that second Kamaru Usman fight where he's able to stay on his feet, get back up, but, keep your hands up this time. I mean, against Usman in that second fight, you can clearly see he didn't respect Usman's hands at all, and he paid for it dearly. I honestly think that was his best opportunity to win a world championship, considering how he did defensively in the first round, but he just kept letting Usman land, and he just didn't respect him. He got way too cocky in that fight. If that Jorge Masvidal shows up and he can keep it standing, I think he can outstrike Gilbert Burns and, possibly even get a knockout for sure. But my brain is going that that Gilbert Burns is going to win the fight. Going to win the fight pretty handily by decision. It's a 3-round fight, I believe, so, it's not going to last long. And yeah, I think Gilbert Burns is going to take that. Now for the main event fight. Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira, 2 in the UFC, 4 overall, and this is one of the more compelling, stories, not just in UFC history, but combat sports history as a whole. For those who don't know, I'm going to give a quick rundown. Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira fought 2 times in kickboxing, where Alex Pereira won both fights, the second by knockout. In the UFC, Israel Adesanya then became middleweight world champion, reigned for a good 4 to 6 fights as a champion. And then Alex Pereira crossed over then after him, got a fast track to the championship, fought a couple of, unranked guys. Then he went up against a top 5 guy in Strickland and KO'd him quick, fast, in a hurry. So they jolted him right into the title fight. And him and Israel Adesanya had one of the best fights in UFC last year. Very entertaining, where it looked like Israel Adesanya was finally going to get his win. And, he was dominating the majority of the fight. But then in the final round, Alex Pereira was able to catch him with a good shot and get the TKO victory. And it was deja vu from, I believe it was their second bout in kickboxing where Pereira was able to get the knockout on Israel Adesanya. And it was pretty much the exact same story. Israel Adesanya hurt Pereira early, dominated the majority of the fight, and Pereira caught him with that left hook and put him down and knocked him out. So it was literally a replay. Now, a lot of people are aware and are still feeling that, Israel Adesanya should be the favorite, as you can see in the betting odds for the bettors in the comment section and the viewer section. And it's crazy because, I agree. I think Israel Adesanya should be the favorite as well. He usually is dominating the majority of the fight. Israel Adesanya has some pretty good power of his own, but it seems like Pereira is just able to usually catch him towards the end. Now, mind you, in their first fight, it went to a decision. I know you're thinking, well, Wesley, what about when Pereira, beat him that time? In my opinion, and in a lot of other opinions, Israel Adesanya was robbed that fight and should have gotten the nod over Pereira. It's irrelevant now because it's 2023 and nobody really cares about the past. But just for, an assessment viewpoint, that should be noted that a lot of people, myself included, felt that Israel Adesanya should have won by decision in their first kickboxing match. A lot of people feel that Israel Adesanya is a superior striker overall skill-wise. I do as well. But it's only by like one notch. It's not crazy. And then with Pereira having that equalizer in his hands and just, not even just his hands, the way he's able to land crazy knees and head kicks, Pereira's power is something fiercely to be reckoned with. He's a ferocious competitor, and Israel Adesanya obviously is aware with that. In my opinion, assuming that the mental space of Israel Adesanya is clear and level-headed, I think he can pull off the win. I'm going with him. I don't see, Pereira just being able to beat this guy 4 times to 0. That's very hard to do. Very difficult task to complete against a guy like Adesanya. And, he's an all-time great fighter. It kind of reminds me of, Marquez, Pacquiao. Just a lot of other great fights when guys have fought so many times. It's like, sooner or later, you're going to take that L. It's hard to beat an all-time great guy more times, than not. And yeah, I mean, the thing going for Pereira though, I feel like people are underestimating his ability to get better in a short amount of time. Like, he's already the middleweight world champion. That should speak volumes to itself. A lot of people think that Adesanya is going to be like out grappling him and taking him down fairly easy, which he was kind of able to do in that first bout. But, Pereira's got Glover Teixeira into his camp, and, he's one of the best, jiu-jitsu practitioners of all time, especially in the UFC. And I don't think it's going to be a grappling match, very limited. I think Pereira's ground defense is going to be a lot better. He's a tall, lengthy guy, so regardless if you're, a novice at grappling, those guys are very hard to take down just in general, just with their long legs. They learn how to do a basic sprawl, and that's a struggle and takes a whole lot of energy. With all of this being said, I got Israel Adesanya by TKO in the 4th round. I think he's going to come out, more aggressive, still calculated. I think he's going to eventually catch Pereira with something that's going to hurt him. But I think instead of doing it super late in the round like he did in the first round, I think once he does this, he's going to pounce on him and he's going to be able to take him out and end it. And I think Israel Adesanya is going to finally get the monkey off his back, finally get rid of the boogeyman under his bed, and it can set up a possible 3rd fight, or, Israel Adesanya will just move on in this chapter in his life and get the most satisfying victory for his career. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Who do you think is going to win tonight in the fights tonight, especially the co-main and the main event? If you like this video and watched all the way to this point, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification so you don't miss any more news on sports. And have a wonderful day and peace out.